Now, Felix, in 2019, you literally died and went to heaven, and I want to hear about that. But first, let's set the stage a little bit. 1970s, you were a young man, and you became a follower of Yeshua. You received Yeshua, Jesus, Amen, into your life as your Jewish Messiah. Then let's fast forward. You're age 45, New York City, life is good. Mm-hmm. What is it like for you? What are you doing for a job? How are finances? How's life?
But at 45 years old, my office was on 47th Street, which is the center of the International Diamond Exchange. And I had an encounter with the Lord. And
now, what do you mean by
that? Well, he spoke to my heart. He arrested me, if you will. I stopped in the middle of 47th Street.
So right on the street.
Right on the street. And I got very emotional and began to hear the voice of the Lord, not audibly, but in my heart, in my spirit. He spoke very clear words that he wanted me to resign my position with the company. And not only that, liquidate my savings and liquidate my retirement. And I said, you know, and I'm saying to myself, really, Lord? I mean, we had just built a house 6 months ago. We had a high mortgage.
Yeah.
My daughter was 7 years away from college. But the Lord said, I want to lead you back to your people, and I want to lead you into a life of faith. And I remember the words, I must teach you. I must teach you a new level of faith.
But you had to be really sure that you were hearing him. This wasn't just some passing thought or whatever. I mean, this was a major life change. You had a certain lifestyle you were used to, and probably based on the salary you made and everything. Okay, well, you get home. What does your wife say?
Well, my Jewish wife from Brooklyn, who was raised conservative, is waiting for me to get home like she did every night. And I was coming home with anticipation or some clearly curiosity as to what my wife would say. But Bob, would you know that God touched her heart? And I remember her words, I know what we must do. We felt in our heart it was a journey of faith that we needed to take, because you see, all the preceding years we were coming to a place we wanted to serve God, and we knew there was something blocking it. And in fact, it happened a month earlier. It was at a Friday night worship meeting, and I was crying out to the Lord because I couldn't get to a place that I wanted to get in service. And the Lord said that I can't give you what you want. You can't get where you want to be because your finances and your security in your job has blocked the way. That's exactly was the preceding event of that day. And so sure enough, we did that.
Now, you had another experience, supernatural experience, where you actually audibly heard the voice of God. 3 o'clock in the morning, what did he say?
At 3 a.m., he spoke firmly into my left ear, as almost like, speaking directly into my inner left ear. I am sending you back to your people. With a deep, resonant, authoritative voice. It jolted me out of my sleep. I got up, and that morning, when I went down into the kitchen for my morning devotion to read the Word of God, everything was different. Everything was different. And from that point, God began to give me points of reference, pointing me the way that the Lord has wanted us to do this.
One of those points of reference, in 2019, you were at the Wailing Wall. You had a friend there with you, and he said, I don't think you're supposed to leave yet. You're not quite finished.
That's right.
What happened?
I went to the wall to pray, as many people do. And as you said, I turned around, and this gentleman who we were with said, God, the Lord is saying that you need to go back. God's not done. When I turned around and went back to the wall, I put my hand on the wall. I can only tell you, I felt like my hand was fused to the stone. I could not move it. I couldn't leave. And then I had my other hand on the wall. In the moment that followed, I felt the Lord Yeshua. I saw Yeshua in the spirit, not physically, okay, with my physical eyes, but my spiritual eyes, with my inside, my spirit, man, saw Yeshua coming up through the crowd. Sea of Orthodox.
Yeah.
And he put his hand on my shoulder, and I went down. And there I am on my knees, surrounded by all the Orthodox, my hand on the wall. And the Lord spoke these words to me, Bob, that changed my life once again. He said, do not be critical of my people.
Talking about the Jewish people. Right.
Do not grow impatient with them because they do not know, because they cannot see what you see. But know that the time is coming soon when they will see me. And I also heard the words that they don't know that I visit them, that I come here, I'm here, and they do not know me or see me. But do not grow weary. Stay the course. After 20 minutes, maybe a half hour, I left the wall, I left that area. We were leading a group at that time, and so I needed to get back to the group. My wife is looking for me, she didn't know where I was. When I got home, Bob, something happens. I could not engage life again. I could not get back to the normal routines of doing whatever I do, ministry and service and responsibilities. And my wife is asking me, what is going on? I said, Bonnie, I don't know. I only sense in my heart that what he did at the Wailing Wall, it's not complete. He's actually calling me back to go there.
Like right away?
Right away.
That's a big trip.
And I was barely home, and I didn't even know why I'm going, other than the Lord is saying that I need to go back where he visited me. And I'm to remain there every day from morning till afternoon in prayer for 7 days. So 3 weeks later, where am I? I'm at the Wailing Wall for 7 days, praying, waiting for him, waiting for his visitation. And it was the most extraordinary time because the presence of God was there, and there were a number of divine appointments and things that the Lord did that had to do in forming the future of our work amongst the Jewish people. I was completely resolved that I completed the assignment. I believe, number one, it was a test of obedience. The unbelievable, the sense of getting on an airplane, flying to Israel, and not even knowing why I'm there other than I'm going to meet the Lord at the Wailing Wall.
So wonderful second trip.
Yeah.
Get back. You feel like you accomplished what you were supposed to there. Full steam ahead. Here we go. And then you die.
Correct.
So it wasn't long after that. You got, it was a wrong dosage.
Correct.
That was prescribed for you. And more than 7 months worth of medication was squeezed into 29 days of time. And so you were taking this medicine, just burning, feeling the effects of it, but this is what you were supposed to take. And then finally happened, cardiac arrest, your heart stops, you die.
Right.
And when we come back, we're going to find out what happened next. What did Felix see when he experienced heaven? Come back in just a moment.
Call now and get Rabbi Felix Halpern's brand new anointed book, A Rabbi's Journey to Heaven, and his powerful 2-part audio CD teaching series, Heaven and Beyond, plus a free bonus digital download of the gift God gave him, the 30-day Heaven Soul Cleanse. Supernaturally renew your soul, spirit, and body. It's an exclusive package for our It's Supernatural audience. Yours for a donation of $29. Shipping and handling is included. Ask for offer number 9754. Through this exclusive offer of Rabbi Halpern's brand new book and his 2-part audio CD teaching series, he shares his extraordinary heavenly experiences and the life-changing truths that God imparted to him. You will learn what is heaven like, what are the boundaries between the second heaven where demons flourish and third heaven where God dwells. How can you wage effective spiritual warfare against the enemies of your soul? What are the keys God gave Rabbi Halpern that can cleanse your soul in a way you never thought possible before? How can you transform your prayers and live under an open heaven 24/7, free from earthly limitations and needs? On the 2-part audio CD teaching, The Rabbi Prays, for God to carry your burdens and troubles for you, for supernatural healing, deliverance, and for you to access every promise of God. Plus, you'll receive a bonus digital download of Rabbi Halpern's 30-day heavenly journey to supernaturally renew your soul, spirit, and body. Heaven's Soul Cleanse.
In 30 days, you will change your whole mindset and you will be irresistible to the glory of God descending upon you. Get ready to be filled with the glory of God.
Don't miss out on getting Rabbi Felix Halpern's brand new anointed book, A Rabbi's Journey to Heaven, and his powerful 2-part audio CD teaching series, Heaven and Beyond, plus a free bonus digital download of the gift God gave him, the 30-day Heaven Soul Cleanse. Supernaturally renew your soul, spirit, and body. It's an exclusive package for our It's Supernatural audience. Yours for a donation of $29. Shipping and handling is included. Ask for offer number 9754. Call or you can send your check to Sid Roth. It's Supernatural. P.O. Box 39222, Charlotte, North Carolina 28278. Please specify offer number 9754 or log on to sidroth.org. Call or write today.
Welcome back to Something More. I'm your host, Bob Duvall. I'm here with Rabbi Felix Halpern. And Felix, when we went to the break, we got to the point where your heart stopped. You died. I mean, literally, physically died.
Right.
What happened? What happened in the spirit? What happened at that moment? What did you feel? What did you see?
The evening, the entire night was extreme, just leading up to that for a moment. The whole night was extreme pain, fire in my midsection that felt like a furnace, pain throughout my chest, my back. And what I had encountered is what they call an inner storm through toxicity. But that night, I went downstairs. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. I went down to rest. I thought to be quiet, to trust the Lord, to stay in His presence, hoping it would go away, hoping things would just kind of settle down.
Right.
But they didn't. And in a split second, my spirit, I'm laying down now, and my soul rose up, or my spirit rose up out of my body and just literally stepped out, like I'm lying on the couch. It stepped out of my physical frame, my mortal body.
Could you like look back and see your body?
Not in that moment, but when my soul began to rise to the height,
right.
I'm laying horizontally in the spiritual realm, but at a certain point, I was able to see my body lying on the couch, lifeless. And also, in those seconds, I saw my wife in the future planning my funeral. And I saw my children and family in the throes of tremendous grief. And I had a moment, Bob, maybe a moment is too much. You know, in the spiritual realm, there's no time.
Yeah.
Only here. But I had a moment or a secondary understanding that made me feel sad a little bit right there. In that moment only, I felt sadness for her. There was an awareness in that moment.
Sure.
As I was lying horizontally in the spiritual realms, above, on a higher level, in the spiritual dimension, there was an angel over my body. His hands were moving over my body, which was a strange sensation. But I felt such peace, such joy, such trust, no fear. I almost feel, as I look back, I feel like I was one that was brought into an emergency room in the hospital and the doctors are working on my body. And I felt that the Lord was healing my soul. And looking back now with what is what he is doing now. I believe that that was part of a healing that I was to return with. As I'm in the spiritual dimension, I see a white light in a cylindrical tunnel that was like in a bluish color, but there was a white light in the end that I call, it was like a distant star, but it wasn't distant. It was here. Here, it was like the borders of heaven that had not gotten there yet. I felt in this intermediary place. I believe that my experience is because of the Lord had appointed for me to return. I think if I was not appointed to return, I may have ascended immediately to heaven. We don't know.
Right.
We don't know. But I was in this intermediary place, and I understood the spiritual realms in a way that, of course, I would never be able to, because it's what immortality feels like. There's complete freedom. I felt complete, unhindered, unbound by anything. You know, I feel like it's what will be. I can only imagine what it will be like when we are in our incorruptible bodies, that you can translate to places in the spiritual realms. And then I went to heaven.
So what was heaven like? What did it look like? What did you see?
Heaven was unimaginable perfection. Perfection is not really adequate, because perfection is a human word. I don't know how you compare human perfection or perfection according to anything that we understand here to what I might say is perfection. It's perfection supreme. It's perfection of glory. It's everything the way God creates something and is never touched again. Man has never touched anything. For example, the rivers, the river that I saw, that I speak about, where I saw the redeemed on the riverbed, them speaking to one another in glorious white, radiant robe, if you will. The water was so crystal clear that it had I can explain it as it had a living quality to it. Imagine, you know, there is not a water on earth, I don't care where I would travel, to the Andes Mountains, or pick the highest place you can go to and draw water from a mountain, doesn't even compare. It's living. Because I do think that everything God creates, not I think everything He creates is living. That's the way He creates it.
Now, in your job that you quit when you were 45, I mean, you were a precious metals expert and everything. So what about heaven? I mean, are there streets of gold? Is there gold in heaven?
There are streets of gold. the pearls on the gates into heaven, it says righteousness and justice. The pearls are beyond anything that I have ever handled. It has a radiance to it. It has a depth to it. Pearls I've seen, I've handled those, and they're beautiful, but these had a perceptible depth of beauty to it. And the riverbeds had gemstones in it. It was covered with gemstones. And so precious stones and semi-precious stones, and I've noted in past conversations with people, I mean, I've handled the most precious diamonds, the most valuable pearls, rubies, sapphires, gold bars. These are things that I handled all the time.
Sure.
Nothing on earth compares to the sparkling radiance that comes up even from the river, because it's untouched. It's beauty. It's beautiful perfection, artistry. And there are streets of gold everywhere.
Wow.
And what I find extraordinary amongst everything else is that no matter where you are in heaven, the throne is not far. There's always a sense of it's right there. And I believe that it's because it's the complete presence of God that is engulfing heaven. And yes, there is the throne, and He sits on the throne, but His radiance goes beyond Him. That, I think, is part of the fire that circles the throne, of ripples and layers of fire that encircles him. It radiates out, similar to what we feel, quite frankly, when we experience the glory at a revival service, or we're in the presence of God and the atmosphere is charged with the presence of God. Heaven is charged.
Like all the time.
All the time. It's supercharged with the glory and the presence of God.
Now, you couldn't stay.
Correct.
You came back.
I would have liked to stay longer.
I'm sure. Do you know how long you were physically dead?
I believe it was more than seconds. It was in moments. Because there is no time in heaven and in the eternal sphere. But I will tell you that when it was time for the Lord to breathe life back into my body, I'm lying on the couch. I'm actually kind of laying and sitting halfway, and that's where it was left. When it was time, a rush of wind came into my mouth, entered my deepest recesses of my lungs. I took a deep breath like I've been underwater and broke the surface because I can only take my last breath. I'm gasping for air. Yeah. And it threw my head back. And I remember saying, "What was that?" And then I began to understand what had happened. And Bonnie came down, maybe she came down, I'm thinking a half hour after. And
yeah,
it is what it is.
So you came back healed.
Yes.
So like that angel was probably working some healing on you.
Correct. Correct.
So how long, I mean, that's got to impact you in so many ways. How long did it take you to get back to normal?
A year or more.
Wow.
I'm still processing it.
So you're still not back to normal.
Well, my life was turned upside down, but I think it actually was turned right side up. I couldn't process things for a minimum of a year. Sid helped me a lot through that period. Helped me when I was in the weeds. But it changed, I can only tell you, it changed everything for me. Yeah. I feel like I'm born again. But more than that, I felt that, if I can use the analogy of an eggshell that was cracked, and an array of light is coming in from the other realm. A ray of light is coming in from the other side. For most of the year, and it isn't fully gone, the envelope remained open between the physical and the spiritual. And there were times that I had visited heaven in those times and then visited the spiritual realms. I feel at times I'm more connected to the spiritual now because I feel a detachment here. I'm detached now.
Yeah. Now, you learned different things through this experience and after you came back. Just one of those is that we empower the enemy.
Correct.
Satan, with things that we say. Just briefly, tell me about that.
I learned that we empower the demonic realm and Hasatan, or Satan, in things wrongly. In other words, they have no power in our life. And I'll tell you why I say that. The Lord invited me into the second heaven, and I stood above the second heaven. And I saw the second heaven filled with demonic hordes. And as I'm standing there was one particular demon, Bob, that tried to climb up over like a wall to try and grab a hold of my ankle. But it couldn't. And it tried, and it tried, and it was pitiful. I remember I said, it is pitiful because he has no power. And he was in a state of decay. They were awful, ugly, deformed, because they were fallen. And they're decaying from their original state. And so the reason they couldn't touch me, because of the blood of Yeshua Jesus. Mm-hmm. The blood of Yeshua that covers me, they cannot touch me. Now, I'm not saying there's not spiritual warfare. I would be naive to even suggest that.
Right.
You know, Ephesians 6, our battle is not between flesh and blood, but spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Mm-hmm. But he showed me that for believers, I'm not talking about unsaved people, when he is prince in the power of the air, he's not prince in the power of my air, because he's consigned to the lower airways. Mm-hmm. When we say airways, we don't realize the segments of the airways that coincide with the first heaven, the second heaven, and so forth.
Right.
And so what he's consigned to, for me, for you, for anybody that knows the Lord and covered by the blood of Yeshua,
right,
is that he is below our feet. I have authority from the ground up to heaven. So for that reason, when I raise my hand to the heavens and I praise the Lord, I have complete authority from the ground all the way up to the throne, because those airways are not hindered by the demonic realm, not for the believer. Some may disagree with that, but I feel that we have been fooled. Mm-hmm. We have been bamboozled. That's an old term. We've been tricked to think that Satan and his hordes has more authority over the lives of believers. They don't. There are reasons for troubles, and we can talk another time for that. We don't have time to deal with that.
Yeah, and we're actually going to have to leave it right there.
Yes, yeah.
But I hope that this has given you some insight. And, you know, you don't have to go through what Felix went through to be able to experience this intimacy, this peace. Press in, seek after God, and allow him to sensitize you to his Spirit. Flow in him and be listening to his voice for those supernatural moments in your life, just as he did for Felix. He's no respecter of persons. What he'll do for one, he'll do for all. But you need to seek after him. And join us again next time for something more.